This is a module from the Closing the Sale and Delivery course in ALLDATA's Training Garage. Note the audio, interactivity, and checks for knowledge that are part of the module. These tools keep the learner involved in the course and enhance the learning event.
This module covers closing the sale. Upon completion of this module, you will be able to recall the meaning of closing the sale, the different closing techniques, and when and how to close the sale. Click the next active link to continue. Hello, welcome to the Closing the Sale and Delivery course. As you see behind me, I've just delivered the customer's vehicle following our service completion. He seems very satisfied now since we found a serious safety concern during our inspection. After explaining the problem, we were able to solve it to his satisfaction. If I had not learned how and when to properly close the sale, though, I may have missed an opportunity to give my customer the service he really needed. One of the other service advisors here at the service center is talking with a customer about repairs to their vehicle. Let's drop in and see how they are doing. In the service world, closing the sale is when the customer finally agrees to your suggestions and schedules his or her vehicle for service or repair. If a service advisor asks a question such as, "So, can I schedule an appointment to have your vehicle's brakes fixed?" they are not just asking a casual question. This is a closing question. A closing question encourages the customer to move the process along and agree to schedule the repair. Scheduling the customer to have the repair done to their vehicle is the pinnacle of the service sales process. When a customer visits the service department, it's usually because something has gone wrong with their vehicle and they need it fixed. They might not know what the problem is, but they are prepared to tell you what they think it might be. Click each button to learn more about handling the close. When you have finished, click Next to continue. Anytime during contact with the customer, always make it a point to ask pertinent questions and listen to the customer in order to determine their needs. This shows that you care about what they have to say. Listening also gives you the time to determine the action you should take when suggesting a solution for the customer's concern. If the concern is safety related, you should make a strong effort to schedule the repair as soon as possible. If the concern is just a cosmetic concern, you may not need to be as persuasive. When attempting to schedule an appointment with a customer, you never want to come across as desperate, aggressive, or forceful. It is the service advisor's job to guide and advise the customer to reach the right decision for him or her. Always strive to work with, not against, the customer. Select the correct answer to the question below about closing the sale. When you have finished, click Check Answer. Select the correct answer to the question below about closing the sale. When you have finished, click Check Answer. Click the next active link to continue. Now you can see the importance of listening to the customer in order to understand when and how to close a sale. As a service advisor, you must first assess the customer's needs, then provide the best solution to that need while focusing on the interests of the customer. There are many techniques you can use to get the customer to schedule that appointment. Most are based on the 5 techniques we will discuss now, including Direct Close, Indirect Close, Assumptive Close, Alternative Close, and Minor Point Close. If you know how to close properly, you can increase your chances of success. The direct close is the most basic and straightforward of all the closing techniques. With this type, you simply ask the customer if you can schedule him or her for an appointment. Most of the time, the customer is already convinced that you are offering the best solution, and this is why the approach would be successful. What you have to remember is that when you ask a direct question, the answer could be no. Sometimes it's better to use a less direct method of asking for the order. Let's look at some examples of the direct close. Read the two scenarios shown here, then click on each of the direct close comments to learn more. When you have finished, click Next to continue. In this instance, the customer is the one who now has the upper hand. By giving the customer this type of choice, the service advisor has probably lost the opportunity to make the repair. Not asking for the business is the most common mistake in closing the sale. In this example, the service advisor did a much better job. The service advisor simply asked the customer for their business. Using good, clear, closed questions usually leads to successful sale closes. As the service advisor, if you sense that your customer still needs a gentle push to commit to have the repair done, you should try the indirect close. The indirect close is much less invasive. Read the service advisor's close, then click on the indirect close comments to learn more. When you have finished, click Next to continue. Although the customer may not have made a commitment to finally go ahead with the work, once you have persuaded the customer to bring their vehicle in, you are a lot closer to having them commit to getting the work done at your service facility. While it is important to never appear aggressive or desperate while interacting with your customer, it may be appropriate to be assertive when guiding the customer to make a good decision. In these instances, the assumptive close is often the best choice. Read the service advisor's close, then click on the assumptive close comments to learn more. When you have finished, click Next to continue. The assumptive close is a closing technique that assumes that the customer's answer will be yes when inquiring about service. Care must be exercised when using this technique. Notice in the example how the service advisor is encouraging but not pushy. Never allow your tone to become condescending, sarcastic, or authoritarian. Keep in mind your motivation is to address your customer's needs in the best way possible. There are several variations of the assumptive close. We will discuss two of those variants. The first is the alternative close. Read the service advisor's close, then click the alternative close comments to learn more. When you have finished, click Next to continue. Notice the subtle difference the service advisor uses. While still assuming the customer will say yes to the appointment, the service advisor offers transportation alternatives that are only relevant with a confirmed appointment. The alternative close variation offers the customer choices of actions that confirm the service appointment, actions that clearly indicate the customer is ready to proceed. The other type of assumptive close is the minor point close. During this close, you ask the customer for an appointment without actually making a commitment. Read the service advisor's close, then click the minor point close comments to learn more. When you have finished, click Next to continue. The minor point close is not strictly a closing technique because the customer has not actually agreed to anything. This close is a creative way of attempting to move the sale forward and arrange for the customer to come into your service facility. Select the correct answer about closing techniques. When you have finished, click Check Answer. Match each closing technique on the left to its correct description on the right. When you have finished, click Check Answers. click the next active link to continue. We will now discuss how and when to close a sale. Timing is very important to the closing process. It is just as important to know when to close as how or in what manner to close. A good service advisor has the ability to read their customers' verbal and nonverbal cues in order to understand which closing technique to use. Knowing when to close the sale is just as important as knowing what technique to use. Click on each closing tip listed on the left to learn more. When you have finished, click Next to continue. It is important to remember that the first time you should attempt a close is immediately after the customer has stated the vehicle's concern. The next could be after you have quoted the price for the repair. A customer who has objections does not always mean that they are not interested in obtaining your service. In some instances, an objection indicates that the customer is merely reaching out to you to help them make a buying decision. As the service advisor, you will have to answer the objections, then listen carefully and try to answer the customer's questions to the best of your ability. If you do not try to close the sale right away with a closing question, the customer might come up with another objection. Once you have made your initial close and answered any objections, gently try it again. Don't be afraid to adjust your technique. It is always important to keep answering any customer objections and keep trying to close. Pay attention to the customer and use good judgment. Keep the customer's best interests in focus, not the best interests of your business. Never push so hard that the customer just walks out, never to return. A common misconception about closing a sale is that if a customer keeps asking questions and has objections, then they are not interested. Actually, the customer who asks a lot of questions is finally becoming interested in buying or making a service purchase. Take this as a good sign. Always make it a habit to restate your message and the benefits from the service you and your facility can offer. If the customer asks you to go over a point again, my guess is that he or she is giving you the message that the final decision might be based on what you have to say. Either of these might be the perfect time to ask to schedule the repair. The odds of the customer saying, "Go ahead and schedule my appointment," every time are small. Sometimes the customer does give really obvious cues that they are ready to close a sale. Make sure to attentively listen and watch the customer carefully. If a customer nods and says things like, "Yeah, sounds good," he or she could be ready to accept your offer. If they start kidding around with you or lean forward with eyes wide open, it means that he or she has gone from fear of making a decision to being ready to have you schedule the service. This might also be a good time to try to close the sale. One of the best tips can be executed without saying a word at all. Remember to stay calm and keep quiet if the customer stops talking after you ask them for the appointment. At this point, the decision is up to the customer. There is nothing you can do until they respond. The customer will eventually say yes or no. After all, the customer is the one who came into your facility for service. After the customer has agreed to have your service facility make the repair, you should always reaffirm all of the terms and conditions with them and end the conversation as quickly as possible without being rude. Taking this course of action lessens the chances of the customer coming up with another objection or changing their mind. Click to select the correct answer. When you have finished, click Check Answer. Select the correct statement about how to conduct a proper close. When you have finished, click Check Answer. Click the next active link to continue. This module covered closing the sale. In this module, you learn the meaning of closing the sale and how to properly handle the close. You also learn the different closing techniques, including the direct close, assumptive close, alternative close, indirect close, and minor point close. Finally, you learned when and how to close a sale.
Thank you for watching this sample of one of the many courses in the ALLDATA Training Garage. The course topics in the ALLDATA Training Garage range from foundational automotive system concepts to advanced automotive topics, as well as many topics on customer sales, service, and retention, to shop business topics such as financial management, parts inventory, and marketing. To learn more about ALLDATA's Training Garage, contact your ALLDATA sales representative or call 800-697-2533. That's 800-697-2533.